What's going on? It's day 2. We made it. More so, I made it. That was very questionable yesterday, I'm not gonna lie. But thank y'all for coming and hanging out. I know it's early for a lot of folks. Some of y'all decided to stay out late. And so that's good. How many of y'all went to Funland Warehouse yesterday? Okay. How many of y'all threw a football for the first time yesterday? Yeah, I could tell. No, seriously, thank y'all. I hope you had a blast. It's very different, right? It seemed like that, yeah. The alcohol was alcoholing for sure. The football was footballing. Obviously, I kind of vocalized this before. We learned a lot last year doing this. And I think yesterday we learned a lot as well. We've been taking a lot of notes and trying to make this as seamless as a process for y'all as humanly possible. And hopefully, we continue iterating over that. I would love it if, number one, y'all could scan this QR code real fast and leave us feedback. I love all the phones coming up. Fantastic. If you're online, same thing. It really helps us out because if we decide to do this again, we want to improve things. There are some things that I think if we do this again, for sure we have to find a bigger venue, which is a good problem to have, I think. And we can kind of figure that out as we go. But going from there, we're trying to make sure that if we prioritize something, it's valuable for y'all. I always say, your value for time is probably one of the most important things to me. So I just want to continue doing that. The other thing I really want to stress, and I mentioned this a couple times yesterday. I know some speakers mentioned it because I checked the database and we got quite a bit in there. But if you're attending a talk and you go to any talk that you like, so let's say you went to Swizzik's talk yesterday. If you go to the agenda page and you click on the talk itself, you can hit this provide feedback option, okay? And it is tiered, meaning at the very least, you could just leave a rating. Obviously, Swizzik's is a 10. And everything after this is optional. But if you wanted to provide some constructive feedback, I think that's fantastic. We have some speakers here that have given their very first talk ever, right? Which is incredible. And we have some speakers here that are very seasoned. But regardless of where they are on the experience side, any constructive, positive, or negative feedback is always valued because it just allows us to grow. And I think we're the type of community where we'll provide that constructive feedback, unlike maybe some others that want to just tear someone down for the sake of doing it. Be detailed. Like if they're talking too slow, or maybe there's a point that they missed that you wish they would have hit on so that would have helped you. That would be fantastic feedback for them to learn and iterate and improve on. Now, the other thing, be caring as well, because the average conference may give them an hour or 45 minutes. They got 25 here, right? So it's more on me than it is on them. So blame me, I'm the bad guy. But make sure you follow them on social media or their LinkedIn's or their Twitters or their Blue Skies and use that as a way to get more supplemental information or maybe engage with them, ask them questions. It's a great way to do that. Follow them on GitHub if they've got one. If they're missing a lot of squares, don't mention it. And so we can kind of use those as opportunities to just really help people out. The other thing, for a lot of sessions, not a lot, a good amount of sessions, slides are already included. So if you go to the agenda page, every speaker, as long as they provide it and have access to it, their speaker slides will be in their modal. So if you've missed a talk and you're watching it online, you can reference the slides later on. We had 60 plus talks yesterday. We have 60 today. Superman can't watch it all. So I would say be caring for yourself. Don't be mad if you miss a session. It's gonna be online. I know yesterday we had around 3,000 people on the live stream, so thank you so much, all y'all, for, yeah, seriously. Absolutely. And so if I know a lot of speakers submitted slides last night, I'll be honest, I didn't see it. So it's not gonna be on there right away, but it will be on there eventually. And so probably over the weekend, we'll be adding it all onto the CMS. But for those that are already on there, you can view those slides. You can click around and find that out. But every single speaker, there will be the option to provide feedback. So please do so. And if you saw, we did a podcast episode on this recently. If you haven't checked it out, Leon, Noel, and I have a little podcast called the Programming Podcast. And thank you. It's doing something. But we get some pretty interesting topics on there. And one was around some of the Vercel recent changes. And so people were kind of coming up to me yesterday geeking out about the Vercel bot protection. And so it is not using a visible CAPTCHA. It's all invisible, but it's determining whether a person is a bot or not. Now, I will say publicly, the Commit Your Code site has been swarmed by literal millions of bots in the last week. People have been trying to take it down. Vercel has kept us up full time. So I don't know if I'm gonna get a big bill about this, but hopefully we can call somebody. But when it comes to the feedback, you can give somebody some feedback. You can talk about their pacing, maybe it was just right. Content that was just right. Speaker delivery is something that I like. Maybe the live demo is something that I like. You can press continue. This is tier 3, again, optional. And you can leave any kind of comments, thoughts, and especially if you could be detailed, I think that's fantastic, right? So leaving something like, he was great, is probably not fantastic, right? But the more detailed, and if you were here for the keynote yesterday, you remember detailed prompts really go a long way. Kind of same thing here. Think of them as your LLM and just like, help them out a little bit. There was a couple changes to rooms, so I want to make those call outs. For example, Angela, who is at 2:30 p.m., she'll be moving to 3:30 p.m. So just want to make people aware of that if that's on their agenda today. Kevin Griffin, he is in the purple room. I know a bunch of y'all were talking about attending his talk. I highly recommend it. He's one of the few that came last year and flew back down this year. And his talk last year, hands down, the best talk title I've ever seen in my life. And I've talked about it last year. And it was my $8,000 serverless mistake. Had to go see that. He did spend $8,000. And so I would say highly recommend checking it out. Really valuable. But there's some other great talks too. We have some amazing people. Coder Foundry, Bobby, he's here. He flew down. So thank you for hanging out with us and all the good stuff. And for those that have been asking, because I've been asked a couple times, there is no external event tonight. It's Friday night. You're in Dallas. You have made some amazing new friends. I've seen people in new friend groups, which is great. You've been challenging yourself, and I appreciate that. I've heard so many great conversational pieces about the prompt cards. How many of y'all been using your prompt cards? Okay, I didn't see all the hands up, so can we fix that today? Can we fix that? Can we talk to some new people? I know it's great. It's so comfortable to talk to people that you know, but you're going to talk to them after this anyway, right? Meet some new people. This is the time to do it. I promise you, of all the communities that exist, and I'm sure they all say this, but I feel like we pretty are some of the most welcoming ones. We have executives in this place that are geeking out. And some saying, haven't attended a conference in 20 years that has made me feel like I'm excited about something. I saw all the tweets and LinkedIn posts yesterday. Finally excited about something. Thank you. I'm glad that we can provide that for you. I want you to be excited. I want you to have fun. I want you to kind of geek out with people. And the best part is the name badges. We almost opted to print all of your information on there. And we decided, let's let you decide to do that. You want to tell people you're an executive? Tell them. You want to tell people you're a junior? Tell them. You want everybody to be equal? Do it. Whatever you want. It's up to you. If you want, put your social media handle on there. If you want people to follow you there and connect and stuff like that, it's an easy win. If you don't want that, don't do it. You're controlling all the information that you're giving out. But please, talk to someone that you don't know. If you're nervous about it, use the prompt card. Please, if you haven't already. By the way, if y'all got white markers from yesterday, please put them on some tables or something. I bought 100, y'all, and I can't find none. So it will be great. Next year, we're going to do BYOW, bring your own white marker. And that'll probably help out with that a little bit. But please, because people want to sign each other's cards, and that'll be a good way to do it. So just leave them on the tables around the floors and all that. Try to utilize the space. I know there's a lot of bottlenecks yesterday. We try to mitigate that and move people around as quickly as possible. That would be kind of a really good way to do that. Yesterday, so some updates. Yesterday, we had an official count of 860 on the floor. So we are almost triple the size of last year. I don't know how y'all found us, but thank you. We're trying to figure it out still. But hopefully we keep improving. And so your feedback form, again, I want to bring it up just in case for some of the new people. There we go. So if some of the new people that walked in, please, we're always constantly trying to learn. We're trying to improve. If you can leave us feedback, detailed, happy, sad, mad, be very detailed so we can improve again. And hopefully we can keep iterating over this process. There's some things that I know, and I know we ran out of food yesterday. I try to improve that a little bit today. If you're at the front of the line, just remember, y'all, this ain't all you can eat. So if you could think about some people at the back of the line, that'd be fantastic. We try to improve it a little bit, but I don't know if it's going to extend much. So just like yesterday, if you ran out of food and didn't have an option, please let me know. I am more than happy to Uber eat you anything out of my pocket so we can get you something. And I mean that sincerely. Don't hesitate to come to me. And it would be Same thing, Braden, Devin, just let us know if there's something that's going on. We're here all day. Or anybody with a yellow badge. Some people were confused about that. The yellow badges are volunteers. The way that we do volunteers, if you're not familiar, it's 4-hour shifts, right? Or 5 hours, one of the two. And they're just donating their time and then they're back in the as a regular attendee. But I guarantee you, if you ask them a question, they'll kind of direct you in the right direction that you need to be in. So don't hesitate. If you feel confused, lost, nervous, we're all here for you, okay? Does anybody have any questions? Is there anything that is confusing or missing, or is there something that we can help you with? Yes?
So my only question is, if we want to get feedback after the conference, some of us are probably ruminating on what to say.
Yeah.
Thinking about our experience. Where do we go?
So the question for online or people that didn't hear was, after the conference, if we want to get feedback, where would we go? We're going to be sending out another email after the conference. We're going to try and leave some valuable tidbits in there and some things like that. And of course, the feedback form will be listed in there as well, and some other information. So hopefully that will help out as well. But we'll also tweet it out, the socials, all that good stuff. If you're not following Commit Your Code on social media, please do that. I think that will go a long way as well, so that way you get relevant information. Tonight, again, as a reminder, there is no external event. There will be something for the speakers. So please, speakers, be aware of that. If you haven't already seen a calendar invite hit you up, please come to me so we can fix that. I know a few of you didn't get it for some reason, so I'll address that right away. Speakers as well, for speakers that are in here, please, I've already reminded the room, but it's helpful. We have, and I kind of covered this, but I saw a bunch of speakers just walk in the agenda and your talks, if you just tell them to go to your talk, we have built-in session feedback. So we will send you all that feedback that we get if we get it. If you don't remind people, it's hard, but that also includes virtual attendees. A lot of virtual attendees yesterday left a lot of feedback, and I think that goes a long way. And so hopefully that'll help you improve. Outside of that, I've run my mouth a little too long. Without further ado, Mr. Aaron Francis.
Here we are. Thanks, Danny. Like Danny said, my name is Aaron Francis. This is my second year here. I'm excited to be here again. A little bit about me, super quick up front. I am a software developer, primarily in the Laravel ecosystem. By schooling, I am an accountant, but fortunately, I'm not an accountant anymore. These days, I spend most of my time making videos, teaching developers how to use databases. Love databases, that's where I spend most of my time. None of that matters compared to this. I am dad to 2 sets of twins, somehow. Two sets of boy-girl twins, 2.5 years apart. So I have 2 4-year-olds and 2 almost 2-year-olds. So if you think I look tired, I am tired. Yes, please don't tell me that. I know that. I feel that. This is our beautiful and wonderful and perfect family. I don't normally share pictures of my kids' faces on the internet, but since we're all friends here, I've been told we all look very much alike, and I happen to agree. So, jokes aside, I do need to thank my wife, Jennifer. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, and she's the only reason I'm able to do any of this. I'm here with you goofballs, and she's with these 4 kids, taking some to school and some somewhere else. She's the only reason I can do this, so thank you, Jennifer. Okay, so this is a pithy title. Pretty proud of the title. It's not quite accurate enough. Anyone that is trying to tell you that there is a surefire strategy, program, system for success is usually trying to sell you a surefire strategy, program, or system for success. So I have updated the title to be more accurate, if a little bit more wordy. This is more correct. We are just trying to increase the odds of becoming successful, okay? And so we're gonna go over 5 strategies for increasing the odds. I can't promise anything. I can't promise that you'll get a job or you'll get to start speaking at conferences. In fact, I don't even know exactly what we're optimizing for, what outcome we're optimizing for, except your success. And that may take many different shapes and forms depending on what you do, what industry you're in, et cetera. So it might seem obvious why we want to be successful. Success is good. We want to be successful, right? Another reason is this is your timeline. You're here right now, and in the future, something will happen. Seems pretty good so far, right? In the future, something will happen. That might be something bad, right? You might get laid off. Spoiler alert, that's what happened to me. This is my timeline. I got laid off. This is a pretty good time to prepare. This is kind of a bad time to prepare. Okay? So we're here right now, and we want to lay the groundwork for future uncertainty, right? Hopefully nothing bad happens to you. Hopefully you don't get laid off. If you do, I want you to be prepared, because when something bad happens, it's a bad time to say, maybe I should start making some connections in my industry. Maybe I should start networking now. That is going to be tough. We want to be ready for that when it comes. These strategies will not make you invincible. They won't make you invincible. I got laid off. I'm telling you about these strategies for success, and I got laid off. They won't make you invincible. They will make you resilient. They will make you robust. They will make you prepared, but it won't make you invincible. But we still want to optimize for that resiliency. We'll come back to my story a little bit later. The first strategy that we're going to talk about is very, very, very easy to implement. Okay, we're going to talk about becoming known for a thing. So if you become known for a thing, and this may even have already happened in your friend group, right? You may be the board game person in your friend group, right? So if you become known for a thing, people will start to tag you in conversations about that thing. When that thing comes up online or in podcasts or in conferences, or they see something on a TV show that reminds you of that thing of them, and they will start to think of you. So you become associated with that thing, right? How do you become known for a thing? It's very easy. You talk about it a lot. You just start talking about this thing that you're interested in, this thing that you're doing, this thing that you're learning. You just start talking about it a lot. And this is not a modern phenomenon. It is easier now because there are a lot of places to talk, but it is not a modern phenomenon. Does anyone know who that is? No, I didn't think so. Has anyone ever heard of How to Win Friends and Influence People? Dale Carnegie. So Dale Carnegie may be one of the most successful, famous personal development self-help guys ever. His book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, sold like 30 to 40 million copies. Dale Carnegie started by just talking about public speaking. Okay? So in 1912, public speaking was not a thing. It wasn't like a professional thing. You couldn't get paid to be a public speaker. This guy, Dale Carnegie, had developed what he thought was a pretty good system for overcoming social anxiety, becoming a good public speaker. And he wanted that to kind of be his brand. And so where did he go? He went to the local YMCA. And he started teaching classes on public speaking. Pretty humble beginnings. He just went to the YMCA and he started talking, right? And in 2 years, he got to the point where he was earning, remember, this field did not exist. And in 2 years, he got to the point where he was earning the equivalent of $15,000 a week in today's money, just because he went out there and he started talking about this specific thing. This is not a new strategy. Who's heard of this term, growth hacking? Yes, everyone. Thank you for one person for raising your hand. Everyone has heard of this term. This did not exist before 2010, okay? This term was made up in 2010 by a guy called Sean Ellis, and he was at Dropbox when Dropbox was taking off, and so he had the credibility, right? And he started talking about growth hacking, and everyone associated him as the growth hacker. Importantly, he had the credibility, right? So he was at Dropbox. He did a lot of this work. He really did kind of invent this field, but he put a name to it, and he started talking about it. Now, if you don't have the credibility and you just start talking, then you're a pundit, right? Then you're just a talking head. Then you just have opinions for a living, which sounds awesome. It sounds easy, but I don't recommend that. And I don't think that is the failure mode of a group like this. So for a group like this, a group of software developers, of engineers, I don't think the failure mode is doing too little and talking too much. If we had to guess, I think the failure mode of engineers is doing lots of awesome stuff and never saying a word about it to anyone, right? You all know this. You all are doing interesting things all day, every day. And how often are you writing blog posts? Ooh. So this is the failure mode that we need to guard against, is doing awesome stuff and never talking about it. So I'm not super worried about you becoming a pundit, okay? Like I mentioned, I'm in the Laravel ecosystem, which is a PHP framework. Love it, adore that ecosystem. In that ecosystem, I started to become known as the database guy by talking about databases a whole lot. I don't have a formal computer science education. I got my degree in accounting. Who knows? And I wanted to learn more about databases because it was interesting. And so as I was reading all of these database books, I started writing blog posts and tweeting about it and just talking about databases. And I think this is an important illustration, and that is you do not have to be the expert to start talking about it. I was in the process of learning, and as I was learning, I was sharing the things that I learned along the way. I didn't wait till I got to the end. I read something, thought it was interesting, wrote a blog post about it, wrote a tweet about it. You can do the same thing. You don't have to wait to become the expert. In fact, I would recommend that you not wait until you become the expert. So as I was writing about it, tweeting about it, people started to associate me with databases. People would say, oh, you have a database question? Ask Aaron. This came as a surprise to me. What this is this is an example of something called the availability bias. Okay, so the availability bias says that the more information is available to you, the more weight you put on it, right? And so an example of this out in the world is we hear a lot in the news about plane crashes. And we're like, oh, flying via plane must be really, really dangerous because planes crash all the time because you hear about it all the time. And then you look at the data and you're like, oh, shoot. It's 3,500 times more dangerous to ride a motorcycle. We don't hear about that very much, but because we hear about plane crashes all the time, in our brain, we have a bias towards that must happen all the time. It doesn't, but you can use that same bias to your advantage, right? The more you talk about the thing, everyone thinks, oh, he must know about that thing. I'm just gonna go ask him because he knows about that thing. You can use that to your advantage. When I think of TypeScript, I think of a guy called Matt Pocock. When I think of MCP servers, I think of a guy named Kent Dodds. Matt and Kent didn't invent either of those things. They just talk about it a whole lot. And what's interesting is when you think of TypeScript, you might think of somebody else, right? And that's just proof that the world is very large. And so if you're thinking, oh, there's already somebody talking about XYZ, yeah, but they're in one corner of the internet. You might be in a different one. There's room for everyone to be talking about the things that they love. So you need to start that process of having people associate you with that thing. That works out in the wide world, right? We're talking about LinkedIn, and Twitter, and Blue Sky, and all of that. You may look at this and say, man, I do not want to be on the internet at all. I just want to live my life and go home. And to that I say, Godspeed, my friend. That sounds awesome. That sounds amazing. This works inside of companies as well. You don't have to have a public presence. This works inside of companies. I used to work at a company called Ernst & Young. It's an accounting firm. And at Ernst & Young, I was known as the Excel guy. It's as close as you can get to programming and still be an accountant. I was an Excel guy there. And the way that happened is one person found out I was good at Excel. One person found out, pulled me in on a project for Excel. And then they tell other people, oh, you need help with Excel? The new kid, Aaron, he's really good at Excel. And the aura just starts to grow. And everybody's like, oh, I have an Excel project. Let me get Aaron in on that. And as you become known for that thing, opportunities related to that thing start to find their way to you. You don't have to go out and seek them. They start to come to you. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you talk about it, the more you do it, the more you get to talk about it, the more you do it, and things come your way, including direct messages from CEOs of database companies that say, can we chat sometime? This means, by the way, will you come work for us? Which is what ended up happening. So I'm out there, I'm talking about databases. This company's like, hey, we need to hire somebody to talk about databases. Instead of putting out a job listing and doing all this stuff, is there anyone in the community already talking about it? If there is, they might be a good fit for the job. That's what happened. So these opportunities start to come your way. We can talk about my friend Joe. Joe's in the Laravel ecosystem with me. He was on a podcast recently with lots of great quotes. And he says, I was craving more people to talk shop with, so I started posting more. Which, by the way, side note, great reason to start posting. Make some friends. If you want to gather a little community or tribe around you, put yourself out there and that community or tribe will form around you. It's a little side note. Okay. So then he says, one of the things I started posting about, which I was very interested in, was terminal scripts. You know, we're all our own unique brand of nerds. He likes terminal scripts. I like databases. There's a library called Clack in JavaScript. Thought I wanted it for Laravel. Let's make Clack for PHP. So I started posting my progress about it. So again, posting progress is a great thing to post. Hey, I'm working on this. Hey, I learned this. Hey, this was a disaster. Just post the progress. Out of the blue, I had like 170 followers on Twitter. Taylor messaged me and was like, hey dude, you're doing some cool stuff over here. Taylor, in this case, is Taylor Otwell, the creator of the Laravel framework and the company Laravel. DM'd Joe and was like, hey, I saw what you're doing. This is not just for Twitter famous people, okay? So if you're hearing me say like, hey, you should write and put yourself out there and stuff will happen, and you're like, well, I don't have that many followers. 170 followers, and the creator of the framework found him and was like, that's pretty cool. Okay, so this is not an excuse. You don't get to get out of it by saying, oh, I wish I had a following. That's how you get the following, is you do the cool stuff and you talk about it and people notice. And of course, Joe's response is, I was like, what is going on here? Why? Why is Taylor DMing me? What is going on? Right? This is going to happen, and this will be your response. Like, oh shoot, I can't believe it actually worked. Like, what's happening here? So I think broadly, there are 3 avenues by which you can become known for a thing. You can become known for hating a thing. You can. I do not recommend this. I think this is poisonous and cancerous to your soul. I do not recommend being a professional hater. You will get a lot of internet points for being cynical and for dunking on people. I do not recommend this. This is bad for you. And it's going to be really tempting. But behind the scenes, in group chats and DMs, people are going to say, we got to steer clear. I don't want to work with that person. We got to stay off their radar, because what if they turn on us? This is bad. Do not do this. It will work, but it is not good. You can become known for loving a thing. You can be a hype person. That's great. My favorite, become known for doing a thing. Make something. Create something. Put something out into the world. This is my personal favorite. And remember, the something that you make can be documenting your journey. Are you trying to switch careers, Roxy? This is what you do, right? You document your journey. That is making, that is doing, that is putting something positive out into the world. This is my favorite way. So, tactically, how do you implement this? You talk about the thing and then nothing. That's it. You just talk about the thing, okay? That's it. There's no step 2. You can talk about it on LinkedIn, on your blog, at meetups, at lunch and learns inside of companies, with your coworkers. Anywhere that you feel comfortable, you can start. Pick a thing and start talking. Step number 2, or strategy number 2. I'm going to give you this strategy, and then I'm going to give you a caveat, okay? So first, the strategy is ask for what you want. That's it. Full stop. Ask for what you want. If you want it, you should ask for it. The caveat is there are ways of asking that will increase your odds of getting a yes. Okay, there are ways to ask such that your likelihood of hearing yes goes way up. But regardless, if you want it, ask for it, okay? Now, let's talk about some strategies. Who knows who this guy is? Same last name, actually. Andrew Carnegie. So we talked about Dale. Different guy. It's crazy. This is Andrew Carnegie. This is how we're used to seeing him. Super, super rich guy way back when. This is how he showed up to America. 13 years old, poor immigrant family, and he took the first job that he could find. And the first job that he could find was working 12 hours a day in a cotton mill as a bobbin boy, which is just like moving little spools of thread around. 12 hours a day. But he progressively asked for better and better jobs. So he went from bobbin boy to mill worker to telegraph messenger to railroad secretary to division superintendent, each time taking a single step, right? We don't want to take 10 steps at a time. We don't want to ask for 10 things out in front of us. We want to ask for something slightly out of our reach. And then when we get it, boy, we keep going, right? You ask for something else slightly out of your reach. If you're the intern, you're welcome to ask for the CEO's job. God bless you, interns. God bless you and your confidence. That's wonderful. The odds of getting the CEO's job, pretty low. But you can ask for the job right after the one you currently have, right? Ask for whatever you want, but remember, maybe there's a small step that will increase my odds of getting to a yes. Maybe there's something I can bring along as proof that says, look, I can do this next thing that I'm asking for. Okay, so how it worked for me was I was executing strategy number 1. I was working on an open source library and I was just talking about it a whole lot. And an opportunity came my way. So that's all strategy number 1. Something came to me because I was out there talking about it. Somebody came to me and said, hey, do you want to speak at our meetup? It's an online meetup. Do you want to speak at it? And I was like, I am the smartest man in the world. This is like, there's nothing that could be greater than this. And there were like 30 people at this online meetup, and I thought that this was the pinnacle. And so I spoke at the online meetup, and then I had an artifact. I had a recording, right? I had something, I had some proof. And then I could go to an online conference and ask, right? I could submit to an online conference and say, I want to speak at your conference. That's one step ahead. Online meetup, online conference. If you've never spoken at a conference, you're welcome to submit for Keynote at GitHub Universe. God bless you. I don't think it's going to work. But if you take one step from meetup to online to offline, it gets a lot easier. And here's the other thing. When I went to this online conference organizer, I had this little artifact, right? I had this proof of work that I could show the conference organizer I've done this before. And here's the thing about conference organizers. I haven't asked Danny. Y'all ask him later. What do conference organizers want? They want to put on a good conference. Okay? How do you put on a good conference? You lower the risk of putting on a bad conference. That's how you put on a good conference. You just make sure it's not a bad conference. And so if I can go to a conference organizer and tell them I am not very risky, I've done this before, I can do it again, I'm not very risky, my odds of hearing a yes go way up. They oftentimes take risks on first-time speakers. But if you can go and say, I'm not a risk, they're like, oh, thank goodness, I don't want to put on a bad conference, right? So I spoke at a few of these conferences, all the while taking one step at a time, stair-stepping my requests, spoke at a few in-person conferences, and then I thought, what's next? Like, what do I want? I want to MC a conference. I want to host a conference. And so I took this body of work and I took it to Taylor Otwell and I asked for what I wanted. I said, hey, just to reshoot my shot, if you do bring back in-person Laracons, which is the name of the conference, I would happily MC if you think that makes sense. I just asked for what I wanted. I said, I want to be your MC. And he said, cool, sounds good. That was it. He just said, I dig it. That's awesome. And now I've MC'd 3 Laracons simply because I asked. And this year I asked him again. I said, hey, I would love to do it again if you think that works. Sounds good. I just asked. How do you think How do you think I'm here, if you had to guess? I spoke at this conference last year. Before I went on stage, I went up to Danny and I looked him in the eye and I said, this is my audition to be your keynote speaker next year. Which is insane. But how many people do you think asked Danny to keynote? 1 or 2. Right? It's insane. And Joe will tell you the same thing. So he says, I was doing this crazy experiment, getting, fooling around for fun. People liked it and it got attention. Strategy number 1, people liked it, got attention. Then I had enough of a relationship, right? So he's like, I've talked to Taylor a little bit. Now we're moving forward. I can start to ask for things. I said, if you're ever hiring, you should hire me. That is not my move. That is not my move ever, ever, ever. But the job market was rough. And if I'm going to go anywhere, the only answer was Laravel. Okay, so I'm not going to let you off the hook again. You might think, oh, it's easy for you to ask for things, but I'm scared when I ask for things. So are we. We're also scared. It's insane to go to a conference organizer and say, this is my audition to be your keynote. That's insane, objectively. But I'm here. And do I want to be comfortable or do I want great things out of my life, right? That's not my move ever, 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 but he wanted the job. So I was like, all right, let's go. Let's just ask for what we want. And here we are. Joe's been there 2-3 years working at Laravel as a full-time employee now. So it works, right? You can just ask for what you want. This one's tough. I'm not going to lie. This one's tough. This one's especially tough. For software developers. You need to operate in the world as it exists, not as you wish the world to exist. You need to operate in the world as it exists, not as the world should exist. Listen, I don't have to tell you that the world is broken, guys. And some things about the world desperately need fixing. And some of those things are worth your precious time and energy to fight against, to tear down, and to fix. Some things that are broken in the world are worth sacrificing your life for so that your children can live in a better world. But listen, most things are just stupid. Okay? So you have to decide, is this stupid or is this worth sacrificing my one wild life to fix? Most people never ask the question. They just see something that is stupid and they say, I'm going to tear this system down. Okay? So, something that is stupid. You probably work at a company that has a lot of stupid rules. Raise your hand if you, I'm just kidding, I'm not going to make you do that. You probably work at a company that has stupid rules. You have to format your expense reports a certain way. You have to submit at the end of every week. You have to submit this nicely formatted document about what you got done this week. I am a professional engineer. I don't need you babysitting me. I don't need to tell you what I got done this week. Treat me like an adult. And so you can decide, I am going to rage against the machine. I am going to teach corporate that developers are not only valuable, we should be revered. Right? You can spend your energy and your social capital fighting that system, or you could say, this is the system that exists. How can I operate within the system to my advantage? I am going to submit my weekly report on time. My boss is going to love me and I'm going to get a promotion. That's the system that exists. Do you want to tear it down or do you want to operate within it to your advantage? Some things are stupid and I still do them because I know that it will bring success to me. Okay? Is it fair that people who are out in public get more opportunities? I don't know. I know it's true. I don't know if it's fair, but I know that it's true. Ryan Reynolds has a great anecdote about the process of making art. And he says, I want to make art, but if I'm going to keep, and his art is movies, if I want to keep making my art, these movies have to make money. I realized that early on. If I want to make movies, the movies have to make money. And so I decided my movies are going to make money. The system is set up such that Ryan Reynolds wants to make art, but if he's going to keep doing it, they've got to make money. So he decided, okay, great, they'll make money. That way I get to keep doing what I want to do. How many people flew here on Southwest Airlines? Great airline. Southwest observed the rules of the game. They observed the system when they started. In 1971, when they started, the system was a little bit different. The rules of the game stated that if you were going to fly airplanes in between states, then you were subject to federal regulation under the Civil Aeronautics Board, right? So if you wanted to start a new airline, you had to go to this federal agency, get a license, do a bunch of stuff, comply with all this stuff, a lot of onerous regulation to just even begin to start a company. So Southwest could have done a couple things. They could have said, well, we just won't do it. They could have said, well, we're going to spend the next 10 years, fighting the man. And maybe they did, but importantly, what they did, they operated within the system to their advantage and started an airline that flew in Texas only. Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, maybe not Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio triangle, right? Operate in Texas only. You're observing the rules as they exist and you're saying, fine, I'm going to operate in Texas. And for 7 years, they operated with no federal oversight. They perfected their business model, which was new, point to point instead of hub and spoke, single type of airplane, low cost, no frills, 10-minute turnaround time. They perfected that business model within the existing stupid system. And then deregulation happened in 78 and boom, they were way ahead, right? So observe the rules and operate within them. Is it fair that that federal agency got to regulate who starts an airline? I have no idea. I'm not interested in the question. I don't care. Neither did Southwest. You may think, this is the hard part, you may think it's not fair that. And the hard part is you are probably right. This is the crappy part. When you look at something and you say, it's not fair that, you're right. I'm not trying to convince you it's fair. It's not fair that the same 200, 300, 400 people speak at all the same conferences. Maybe. I don't know if that's fair or not. I know that it's true. So I'm challenging you, whenever you hear yourself say that, it's not fair that, reframe it in your head and say, since it's true that, and what does that do? Since it's true that the same 200, 300, 400 people speak at all the conferences, how do I get that for me? How do I get into one conference? Because it seems like once you speak at a conference, it's easier to speak at other conferences. Since it's true, what do I do? Because I want good outcomes for me and all of my kids. And so I don't care if it's fair. I'm going to operate within that system to my advantage. You work backwards. I got to get one conference. How do I do that? Maybe a meetup. What does a conference organizer want? Lower risk. You're in the game. Since it's true. Recognize the patterns. Work within them. To the extent that they need to be torn down, tear them to the ground. To the extent that they're stupid, let's just use them to get ahead for ourselves. You've done the first three. You've become known, you've asked for what you've wanted, you've operated within the system to your advantage, and you end up in the room where it happens. You end up in that place that you've always wanted to be in. Listen, you need to act like you belong here. Because you do. You've gotten here by your own merits, your own hard work, your own exceeding cleverness, and you belong in that room. But your little brain is going to tell you you don't belong here, and you just need to act like you belong there. When you get invited to speak when you get invited onto a podcast in a new job, you are going to feel like, oh man, I'm an imposter. I don't belong here. You can just act like you belong there. Yeah. In improv, Conan says, in improv, there's a great rule that I've used in my life. And that rule is act as if. So he's taking this improv rule and he's applying it to his own life. Act as if this is completely normal. Just act as if it's normal. Doesn't matter if you feel it. Of course, I'm supposed to be interviewing President Barack Obama. Of course, I'm supposed to be playing guitar with Bruce Springsteen. And of course, there's a big part of me inside that's saying, what are you talking about? Conan O'Brien, Mark Twain Award for Comedy winner Conan O'Brien gets imposter syndrome. But you know what you don't do? You don't go out into an interview with President Barack Obama and just spend the whole time talking about, oh, I can't believe I'm here. Like, oh, sir, I'm so honored. Oh, this is crazy. That's terrible interviewing. Just act like you belong there. There's no such thing as faking bravery. I tell this to my kids all the time. There's no such thing as faking bravery. That is merely called being brave. If you get to the edge of the high dive and you fake bravery and you jump off, that's bravery, right? There's no such thing as that. You can trick your brain the same way. When you get your big break, tell yourself, I belong here. And what this does for you, when you enter the room after telling yourself, I belong here, is it gives you this kind of like quiet, centered confidence. No longer are you the loudest person in the room trying to prove, mostly to yourself, that you belong there. No longer are you the most quiet person in the room hoping that no one finds out you don't belong there. You just get to operate within your zone of genius, in your centered confidence. And when someone asks you a direct question that you don't know, you just get to say, I don't know. I don't know. You're not trying to cover up the fact that, oh, they found me out. And when your team is talking about something that you know, you get to chime in and say, hey, in my experience, this is how we've done it, and this is how it's worked. So tell yourself that you belong there. There's a woman named Amy Cuddy who got she got a brain injury, a traumatic brain injury in college from an accident. And her doctors and professors and everybody told her that she would not finish school. It was too much. She did not believe them. She knew that she would be able to finish, and she went on to become a psychiatrist, and she invented the power pose. She invented this. She stole it from Wonder Woman, but she invented this as a confidence hack. Listen, if you need to trick your brain into believing something that is true, I'm all for it. If you need to stand outside the meeting room and do this for 2 minutes so that your physiology starts to believe that you are confident and you belong there, do it. Do whatever it takes to trick yourself into believing what is true, and what is true is that you belong here. The last one is a bit of a meta and an encouragement. You don't have to get it all right. You don't have to get it all right. All you have to do is keep moving. Keep trying. You just have to keep going. So let's say you decide, I want to become known for a thing, and you start to talk about it, and you're like, this thing sucks. I don't want to be known for that. Fine. Change directions. That's great. Keep going. Give it everything you've got and go. It'll be easy to adjust along the way. It's so much easier to adjust when you're moving. It's very difficult to stand still and pick the perfect path. I actually don't know anyone that has ever done that. What I do know is people that took a step this way and then took a step this way and then ended up over here, and now they're where they want to be. But you gotta get in motion. You will discover opportunities along the way. The interesting thing about doing things is it leads to more doing things. And the interesting thing about staying still is it leads to more just staying still. Who knows what this is? Printing press. Printing press, 1400s. Before Gutenberg revolutionized all of history, he was just a guy okay? He was just a guy in motion who took a few wrong steps. He was a metal worker. He was very good with metallurgy and alloys and little intricate machines. And he was a clever fellow. He had a few bad ideas. This is not his first invention. One of his kookiest ideas, this is in the 1400s. Every 7 years, there was this cathedral that would display holy relics. The swaddling cloths of Christ, the robe of Mother Mary. They would display these relics. And religious pilgrims from all over would make their way to see these holy relics once every 7 years because they believed that the light emanating from these holy relics would heal them. Okay? So Gutenberg looks at it and he's like, I got an idea. What if I manufactured 100,000 tiny little mirrors? What if I manufactured 100,000 tiny little mirrors and then I sold them to the religious pilgrims so that when they get there, they can capture some of the light and then bring it home and shine it on a sick person and heal them. That was his idea, okay? So he got to work, right? And he produced thousands and thousands of little mirrors. The whole thing was a disaster. Huge disaster. The bubonic plague struck. They postponed the relic display for a couple of years and he went bankrupt. It was a huge disaster. And so he's broke, he's embarrassed, and he's got this set of skills of mass production in the 1400s and working with metal. And he's like, how can I produce thousands and thousands of tiny little identical letters out of metal that I can apply even pressure to and transfer ink to parchment, right? Gave it everything he had on a terrible idea. Took a lot of learnings, and then slightly changed direction, revolutionized all of history. You don't have to get it right, but what you do have to do is try something. You gotta try something, and you gotta get started. And if you fail, who knew the story about Gutenberg's mirrors? Nobody. Everybody's so enamored with their own lives that nobody's gonna notice that you changed directions. It's fine. Nobody's thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves, just like you. This is Oprah's first job. They were horrible to Oprah at this job. They were awful to her. Speaking of systems that need to be torn down, they were awful to Oprah. 8 months she lasted as a co-anchor here. The reason she was fired, the stated reason she was fired, was she was too emotional. Too emotional to be a news anchor. Oprah would go and cover these disasters, these fires and floods, and on the way, she would buy blankets for the victims with her own money. There would be grieving families, and the execs would say, go interview that family, and she would say, I can't. I'm not doing that, man. And they fired her after 8 months. She bounced around several other B and C list shows, 18 months, embarrassed, but in motion. She kept trying. 18 months after she got fired from this job, she landed a morning talk show. And that's when Oprah became Oprah. And then at 32, she started the Oprah Winfrey Show. Give it everything you got. And sometimes people will be horrible to you, and they deserve justice, but listen, you have to keep going. You have to keep going. There will be failures along the way. Whatever you want to make, whatever you want to do, you need to go out and do it. You need to go out and make it. There is a bravery in being willing to change directions. And listen, I am not very good at judging what the market deems valuable. I'll put something out and I'm like, this is pretty good. And the market will say, I have no idea what that even means. And I'll put something out and it's like, this is kind of silly. And everybody's like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, this makes no sense to me. But what that tells me is that's not my job. My job ends when I've done the work and I've put it out there. If the market loves it, that's fantastic. I've got more behind it. If the market hates it, that's okay. I've got more behind it. My job, your job, is to do the work and put it out there. We'll let other people decide if they like it or not, but you have fulfilled your duty. You have done the work. This is my meandering path. I started posting about databases, as I mentioned earlier, and then I made a video course about databases. So I recorded 64 videos about the MySQL database, and everybody was like, hey, that's really awesome. We don't really care about databases though. How did you make those videos? And I was like, whoops, let's make some videos about how to make videos. I put a lot of energy into recording these videos. Let's make some videos about how to make videos. And people were like, that's awesome. And then whoops, we're going to start a company just making videos. And what happens next? I don't know. That part's not my job. My job is to keep doing the best possible work I can do and tell as many people as I can, and we'll find out. Who knows what comes next? That's not my responsibility. The good news is you're the only person responsible for your success. The bad news is you're the only person responsible for your success. Okay? You can just do things. You can just decide, I am fundamentally going to change my life. You can just decide that today. It's hard, but nobody is stopping you. You are literally the only person stopping you. In fact, you must just do things because you're the only one that can. If you want something different, you have to go out and get it. These are my strategies, and I will briefly come back to my story here. I got laid off. I had 4 kids under the age of 3. That's where 3 came from. 4 kids under the age of 3. 2 2-year-olds, 2 newborn babies, developed rheumatoid arthritis. I'm the sole breadwinner, and I'm on paternity leave. And I get the call, you just got laid off. It will not make you invincible. It will make you resilient. This is my schedule the week after I got laid off. Bunch of calls with people who said, hey, heard you got laid off. Man, that sucks. Anyway, do you want to come work for us? It will make you robust. It will make you resilient if you prepare now. You will be ready when that thing happens. And you may decide, hey, there's a good domain available. Maybe I should just start my own company, right? You may decide, I've been preparing for this. I'm going to start my own company. Whatever you decide, you will be prepared for it. So here's where it comes to you. I want you to decide something that you like, that you enjoy, that you're learning, that you want to be known for, and just start talking about it on whatever terms make you feel comfortable. LinkedIn, blog, podcast, internal message board, whatever. And next week, I want you to ask for something. So today, I want you to pick something and start talking about it. Next week, I want you to ask for something. Just ask for something that you want. Because a year from now, you could be in the same situation. You could be in the same situation, waiting for the world to be more fair, waiting for somebody to pick you. You don't have to wait for somebody to pick you. You can pick yourself. You don't have to wait to be anointed. You can decide, I am going to pick myself. You could be in that same position next year, or you could say, listen, I am going to start talking about something. I'm going to pick myself. I'm going to operate within the system as it exists. You could fundamentally change your life. Maybe getting laid off, losing our only income with 4 kids under 3, maybe was the best thing that ever happened to my career. Whether or not something terrible happens to you, I want you to be prepared if it does, But if it doesn't, I want you to be even more successful than you would have been otherwise. But you have to start. The universe is waiting to conspire in your favor, but you have to give it something to work with. Thank you.